So that video that you guys just saw is from our baby monitor. Our daughter is sleeping in her crib and you see the door open by itself. This was probably one of the first scary experiences that we had. We were sleep training her and we would put her to sleep and then lay her down in her crib, and she was doing really good, like sleeping through the night. And something that we did specifically is that when we laid her down, we would make sure to close the door to her room because it got a little chilly sometimes. So every night we would close the door and we would just go to bed. But when we would wake up, the door to her room was open. And so my wife and I would kind of argue here and there about like, oh, you forgot to close the door or whatever. Or like, oh, did you open the door to go check on her like early this morning before I woke up? Whatever it may be. And so it got to this point where we got in this heated argument and I wanted to prove my wife wrong. So I wanted to basically like catch her on camera that she was the one who was like not closing the door properly or whatever it may be. So I moved the baby cam to ensure that I could see like the crib and the door. So that night when we went to sleep after I moved the baby cam, my wife wakes up in the middle of the night and she's like, I just heard the door open. And I was like, what? She's like, I just heard the door open. It clicked. And like, you can hear it in her voice that like something wasn't right. And she was like, somebody is in her room. You need to go check. And I literally ran to the room. I opened our door and lo and behold, the door to our daughter's nursery is open, wide open. So I jumped to our baby cam to see if we can catch it on camera, and that is what I caught on camera. I don't know anything that could explain what happened in that little clip, but if you look at the doorknob, you can kind of see the light kind of like reflecting off of the doorknob. Like you can kind of see it shift, and that's when the doorknob actually turns, and then you hear a click because you hear the door like slowly opening, and that's what woke up my wife. She was just on guard that night and she woke me up in the middle of the night. It had to have been around like 2 a.m. or something like that. And I think from that point we decided to move our daughter's crib into our room because we were like, no, what was that about? That was just the beginning of some of the scary experiences that we had. But from that moment, when we would come home, like the energy here was just really dark. It was really heavy.
That's so scary. I was going to say I would just move my daughter into my room. I could not let her be in that room on her own. I'm going to go rewatch the clip in a second again to see like what he said you can see. That's so scary. And the fact like he thought his wife was doing the prank at first. I'd be horrified.
And I decided to call my mom and ask her about this. I was like, hey, I think you need to come to our house and check it out. Mind you, my mom is from the Kingdom of Tonga. That is an island in the South Pacific. And my mom has always been blessed spiritually in that sense, where she can like feel presences or like she can see people and talk to them. And I know this sounds wild, but like she talks to my grandparents all the time. Like she says like, oh, sometimes they come visit me in the house or yada yada yada. And it always scared me, and I was like, you're scary. But I knew when this stuff started happening, I was like, oh, I need my mom to come check it out to see what she says. And the craziest thing happened is that my mom came over. She walks through the door and she's just like, I don't like this. And I was like, what? She's like, I don't like how it feels in here. There's something really dark here. She walked through all of the rooms and she was like, I don't know how to explain it, but there's something really dark here. But when she walked into our daughter's room, she was like, I don't feel that darkness in here. And I was like, Mom, what the hell are you talking about? That's where the door opened up by itself. And she was like, want to know what's weird? She's like, I feel grandma. I feel grandma's presence here. Like she's here to try and shield your daughter from whatever this dark thing is trying to do. And she's like, I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like grandma was the one that opened the door. And that was just something that blew my mind. My mom specifically was just like, we have to figure out a way to get this thing out of your house, or like this presence. I don't know how it clinged onto you or whatever it did, but she's like, we need to go enlist the help of grandma and grandpa. So she told me that the superstitions within the Tongan culture are to go visit your loved ones at the cemetery so that you can enlist their help from the other side. And how she explained it to me is like, she's like, you can do stuff like here, you can bless your house and different things like that, but she's like, I would feel more comfortable if we went and talked to grandma and grandpa in person. So she took me, my wife, and our baby over to the cemetery. We sat next to our grandparents' like tombstones, and my grandma was talking to them, like whispering in Tongan. And I don't speak fluent Tongan, but I asked my mom, like, hey, why are you talking to them in Tongan? Like, why aren't you talking in English? And she said this, and it creeped me out, but she said, well, because other spirits are listening as well. And we don't know if they're all good spirits. And I know not all of them speak English. So she decided to speak to my grandparents in Tongan so that only they were the ones at the cemetery who could understand her. And things that happened after this kind of started to level up.
Oh my god. I need to watch that clip again because I want to see like what he was on about. Oh my god. That is just so horrifying. Like, I genuinely can't. The fact he had to get his like spiritual mum over from like a different country, island, to come and, you know, bless his house, get the presents, get the feeling, and she's then just said, I don't like this house. I would genuinely just pack up my things and leave. I'd be like, Mum, I'm coming back with you. Or Mum, you can come live here. But it's a nice feeling to know that the grandma was there and, you know, helping their baby. But the fact to go to like a graveyard and speak Tongan, I don't know if I said that right, Tongan, because I don't trust the spirits around them, it's just horrifying and horrific. Oh god, I want to know I want to know the wife's point of view. Like, I want to know how she feels. I would genuinely just move out. I could not do that. That was so scary.